Today, I'm going to be speaking to Hayley Reardon, who's coming all the way from, where are you coming from?
Massachusetts, north of Boston.
You had to think about that for 2 seconds.
Yes.
Because your life has become a whirlwind. You seem to be traveling here, there, and everywhere.
I am here, there, and everywhere. I am. But right now I'm in Massachusetts, in my home.
We'll talk about how your life has been over the last 12 months or so, where you're going with your music, and all of those things after this.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
So, Hayley, thank you for joining me. Now, listen, where I want to start at with you is your music, your voice is just utterly beautiful.
Thank you.
That's okay. I genuinely mean it. But I sense that it's almost like you're a bit of an old soul.
I resonate with that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I resonate with that, and I have since I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah. So you've heard that from people over the years as you've been growing up. You're a bit wise for your age, or or whatever.
Yes, I've heard it reflected back to me, but also I felt it from I not in some like self-congratulatory way, but in a way of like being young but feeling like I don't know, this weight and this almost like seriousness, like I have related to that from an internal standpoint too, but yeah, it's also been reflected to me.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure at the young age that you are, that you have plenty of fun and that you have plenty of silliness in your life, and that from time to time you act your age as well. But where do you think this kind of deepened perspective, if you like, on the world comes from?
I think from sensitivity, from feeling things quite deeply, and that just being part of my like wiring forever.
Is that hard for you sometimes?
Yes, that makes certain things challenging. Yes, I learn more the older I get how to manage that. Yeah, and I think I began songwriting. I discovered songwriting almost like a room within myself is how I relate to it, when I was very young, when I was like 11. And I remember this feeling of like, oh my gosh, this is the sort of safe place I've been looking for, and it's internal. So songwriting was the medium that I could get into that room, but the room represented something more to me, and it was just kind of the meditativeness of chasing a song, and the shapes and the words and the melodies together could get me to that place. So I think that I was able to sort of develop the connection with this, I don't know, intuition driven self very young because of songwriting. But I have always sensed that it's more songwriting was the medium to access that than it was songwriting was the only point. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So where did you start with the actual songwriting? Where you picked up a guitar one day, or you
Yes.
were just humming to yourself?
Guitar was eventually part of it. When I was 11, I started to play the guitar, and that linked some threads that had already formed. I mean, I loved to sing already. I have an older sister who's 6 years older than me, and she was always singing, and I was always absorbing her vocal inflections and nuance and things.
Can I ask you, did you learn from anything in particular other than like family members and did you learn from listening to music, or did you have chance to learn from school or church, or was there any kind of institutional way that you learned?
Once I started playing guitar, I took lessons eventually. Like my dad showed me the first few chords, and I started writing immediately because I was interested in primarily writing. I loved writing poetry and stories and prose and letters. My God, I loved letters. Like every family event, I would write these long letters to like each person and have them at the table. I loved writing, and then I loved singing, and I did love making up songs on the spot, like silly songs. And I loved this process of like how a word clicks into a melody, and the rhythm and the shape of the words. I was always drawn to that, and I would do that while I was like doing my homework. Like I would sing the assignment so that I could stay focused, and I would this type of thing. But then once I started to play guitar, when my dad showed me the first few chords, I began writing immediately. Like, okay, synergize those things, words and melodies, and now I play an instrument, writing. And then later, took guitar lessons and such. But I didn't have any sort of formal training in the traditional way of like church, or coming from a musical family that like it's embedded in that way, or just traditional musical training. No.
Did you ever have any struggle with like getting what was in your head out, in terms of what sometimes when you start playing an instrument,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you first start playing an instrument, because your head can do anything, right? It can make anything happen. Did it take time for you to catch up physically with what you were then holding to what was in your head?
That's a good question. I didn't perceive it that way. Now I've had that experience more so later, as with more intentionality and kind of consciousness around what I want to create and how. But I think back then, as I said, I related to songwriting as a room I would go into inside myself. So I wasn't yet thinking like, oh, I hear this and I want to execute this idea, or I would go there and then what was there was there. And when I left that room, I didn't really relate to it anymore. It was like this. That's why I think of it so spatially. So no, I didn't have that experience of frustration that my skill doesn't match my vision, because I didn't know what my vision was. I would just go into this place and write like 5 songs in a day, but they were only waiting in that room when I got to that room, and then I would leave, and that was it. It wasn't so.
This is good. This is interesting.
Yeah.
So now, with where you are at now,
Yeah.
do you struggle to, because you've obviously your skill set has improved, do you struggle to sometimes get back to that space, or do you naturally gravitate back to that space?
Both. I struggle to get back to that space, and I go through the constant like cycle of worrying that I've lost the keys to that room. So that's an ongoing terror, honestly, is because I relate so much to my craft through intuition and through that kind of liminalness. I go through cycles where I can't get there, and then it is challenging, and then eventually it comes back, or I find my way back, and I feel a lot of relief. So yeah, I sometimes do wish I could get back there, and yet I've also been able to maintain that is my entry point, like intuition and that sort of detached connection to my creative process is still kind of core to how I write. I can push through and workshop something, but I still am the most loyal to that kind of framework. So that stayed central to the way I think about songs and connect to them and write them. So
now you had an opportunity to meet with a very famous singer-songwriter earlier in the year, and I do want to ask you about that, but I also want to ask you, with what you've just said, have you met with any other singer-songwriters that have kind of been through a similar experience in terms of the way that you write, and the way that their space was important, and then because the technical side comes in and they become much more proficient, there's then maybe a sort of like a gulf sometimes, and how they've dealt with that. Have you spoken to anyone else that's given you advice on that, and how they get back into that space?
Yeah, it's certainly a conversation that I have a lot, or something that's very top of mind for me. So in my close creative relationships, I know we've spoken a lot about this. I don't know if I can tell you right now an exact piece of sort of advice around that. Other than the sort of, I guess, cliche one of just trusting that that there's some synthesis there that's always happening, and it comes back when it comes back, and things get made and written, and they come through when they want to, and they need to, and when we're available for them.
I think there's some very interesting artists that are worth like following.
Like
In
that realm, you mean?
In that realm, yeah. And I'd say for one, a lady that's been on here, whose work has been phenomenal throughout the years, which is Christian Hirsch. Do you know Christian Hirsch?
No. So, okay, Christian Hirsch.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing it down in green marker.
Became very prominent in the sort of late 80s, 90s with a band called Throwing Muses.
Okay.
But based out of Rhode Island, and then has had a really great solo career as well. But she had an accident when she was young. She had a diagnosis of bipolar or manic disorder, etc. And for a long time, her songs came out of that and came out of that state, etc. But she's had treatment very late on in life, and the treatment kind of resolved a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because then she realized, and she's written a lot of books about how kind of, in some ways, what she's learned in terms of the body muscle memory and the overall how her ear has developed or whatever, she knows how to write, if you know what I mean. But she, for a long time, she just felt like the songs came to her because of the way her mind worked, and now she's dealing with it in a different way. It's a really
Fascinating.
useful thing.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of like putting a science to that inspired state, and like what's the formula that, I don't know, creates that without sacrificing that. Okay, that's fascinating to me. So and she's written books about it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I will look that up. Thank you. That's really, really interesting to me. So yeah.
So tell me about the encounter with Ed. How did that come about?
It came about very unexpectedly. It was super, super amazing. Because he has been doing these pop-up events in the rollout of this most recent record. And I live in a town called Gloucester, Massachusetts, which is a fishing town north of Boston, about an hour from where I grew up on Cape Ann.
Interestingly, Gloucester here is about an hour up from here.
From where you are? Okay, well, this is a sister city story. So me and you are these sister cities, and about 20 minutes, 15 minutes from Gloucester is Ipswich, Massachusetts. And that's Ed's sister city. So they decided to do this event in Ipswich, Massachusetts, which has the link to Ipswich, England, and do this. They filmed the Old Phone music video there. I don't know if you've heard the song Old Phone, but and the video is in this Old Phone pub, which then traveled around. I think it was at like Coachella too, the pub itself. But they built this pop-up experience pub in the town of Ipswich, and it was amazing. It was like the community got to come and experience this overnight pub that didn't exist before. And they reached out to me and another local artist to perform in it, because it feels like a local pub, and then I just got very, very lucky that at the very end of my set, Ed Sheeran happened to come out at that moment, to sing Old Phone, the reason we were all there. And he was so gracious and lovely, and asked to hear me sing again, and sat at the floor at my feet and listened, and was just a dream. He was the kindest, most lovely. It was amazing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you look, though, I think what enamored people to you watching that was that you looked like you just carried on. Were you like that inside? Were you just like completely, once you got into singing, were you completely kind of, it didn't matter who was in front of you? Because it feels like that when you watch it. It feels like you kind of retreated into the song, and it didn't matter who that was in front of you.
Yeah. Well, I would say once I was singing, yeah. And I think that's my experience a lot with singing. And maybe even in that situation, I had to focus even harder on go into the song and be there, because otherwise I mean, if I'm like making eye contact with Ed Sheeran staring at me from crisscross applesauce like this. But yeah, I was overwhelmed by the experience. I wasn't expecting him to ask me to play again. I had been told an amount of time to perform, and it was already a big surprise that he happened to come out at the moment I was finishing my set and greet me, and he was very lovely. And then he did Old Phone, and this was beautiful and meaningful for me on many, many levels. So then I was caught off guard for him to come back and say, I want you to play again, you know? So this part I was shaky and like, oh my gosh. But once I was singing, yeah, I was able to just sing. That's a safe space for me. And it was a really perfect, comfortable environment. Like, he was so kind, so humble, so grounded. And then it was a listening room who I just performed for. So it felt like home. Like, it was my kind of musical setting. Ed Sheeran had been so lovely. Like, it felt natural, you know? So.
Did he give you any advice, or did he ask for any advice?
He certainly didn't ask for advice.
Why not?
Direct advice. I would have no advice for him. Direct advice, I don't think so. But we had a really sweet chat he asked me about touring and about my sense of like the audiences abroad versus here, and yeah, just a brief chat about doing the singer-songwriter thing. And I really appreciated that. He talked to me so much like a peer, you know. He was so like, oh, what's your experience with this? And very, very just super mutual respect, and he was awesome. He's awesome. Cool. I mean, I knew that, but in person he lived up to that, you know.
Do you feel an opportunity will come back round again? Do you feel like you might work with Ed at some point?
Well, I would certainly be over the moon for that to happen. I have no idea, but I would be very very excited about that.
Cool. For people that don't know your music, what is it you're writing about?
I mean, I write about all kinds of things, but
well, you do, don't you?
Yeah, I write about a lot, and I write either about sort of very innermost deep imprints of sort of my inner world, or a lot of sort of character sketches of people and humanity that I encounter.
Well, no, you see, that's why I wanted to ask you that, because
yeah.
So what I want to know is, where does it leave off from being Hayley, and where is it just characterization?
I would say it's pretty clear. Like in life, my sort of creative spidey sense, or like the things that light me up creatively, are often very focused details about interactions and people and dynamics and moments. So I have, and I would say inside my songwriter self, I have two tracks. I have like a very narrative storyteller inspired by the New England folk music community that I grew up in, that loves to tell a story with precision and with detail and with nuance, and that's one angle. And that's a little bit more cerebral and linear and narrative focused. And then I have another type of songs that come through me naturally that are a lot more kind of word painty, and I discover myself and what I feel through the poetry, and they're always 5 steps ahead of me, and they're revealing my inner world to me. And those are more stream of consciousness and more abstract. But it pretty much is one of those two always when I write something. So to me, the distinction is pretty clear. Like, I'll either process direct experiences and interactions and character sketches and all these things through the more linear narrative songs, or I will write these more abstract poetic songs that are usually always about me or about deciphering my inner world in some way.
Now, I could be wrong with this.
Okay, yes.
But you see, I think you would love the part of the UK that I'm in.
Okay, which is near Gloucester, or Gloucester.
Which is south from Gloucester, but so I live in the southwest of England.
Okay.
Right, which quite often when people from America come over here, they go to the wrong part of England.
Okay, southwest.
Dare say, because they always go to the southeast, because they gravitate towards London.
Right.
Nothing wrong with London, right, etc. But down here in the southwest, we have more sea, coastline, we have more countryside, and maybe to some extent we have more folk tale, and we might have more sort of relationship with the past.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
And it strikes me like, although you're making music of now, and it is very of now as well, there's a relationship with the past in there somewhere. Yeah. Yes.
And sometimes I feel out of control of what comes through in the songs or not, but in my sense of what I'm drawn to and what interests me in life, gathering details and moments, yes, this is very core to my inner guidance system around what's interesting creatively. So yeah, relationship to the past. Ding ding ding.
Cool. You listen? Are you aware of, and do you listen to like much UK folk music? Are you kind of?
I mean, in the way of like Laura Marling and like some I listen to Billy Martin and Flight and Laura. This like contemporary.
These are the sort of things that you listen to, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm thinking of UK people off the top of my head, but those are some that I'm like modern folky, right? But if you have recommendations, I'm here.
I feel like you should. I'm going to give you a list afterwards, but I feel like you should dive into things like the Unthanks and people like that who have got like a real foot in like traditional folk as well, but making it more contemporary, etc. And just, I mean, if for example, when you go and see the Unthanks play, they throughout the set they might do like clog dancing.
Okay, so yeah, with that real link,
right?
Yes,
real link, but actually they've brought it up to date, and they've got like there's a pop sensibility, but they've got that folk sound, and actually what they're talking about as well are maybe like stories from old docklands, or stories from the old stories from the sea, stories that have traveled,
right, yes,
that go back into the past.
Yeah,
which
I do love. So yes, and then you're saying that the music also reflects that intersection of the past and the present.
Absolutely.
The sonic choices. Yeah.
So yeah. I'm guessing, right? So this is my next guess. I'm guessing that sort of like wide open spaces that are like connected to the past, or places like the coastline, the sea, are inspirational places for you.
Yes, you're a psychic. Absolutely.
Well, no, I'm just
you're together. Yes, they absolutely are. I grew up by the sea. I feel very at home and inspired near the sea, and I feel the difference when I'm not. Um, and just a couple years ago, I had been living in Europe, like in Germany mostly, but working a lot in Barcelona, and I moved home to this town that I now live in, still Gloucester, which is a fishing town. It's one of the remaining kind of working waterfronts in Massachusetts. And it was meant to be a short-term thing. I moved into this winter rental to write a record that came out like last year. And it was only available for the winter months. And I was just meant to be there for those months and kind of recalibrate and write. And I ended up loving this town so much. This I don't know, the kind of gruff coastal environment, especially like working waterfronts. I was just in Newfoundland this last weekend, and I was like working on a friend's record, and I was like, I know these people, I know this culture. So I'm very drawn to the kind of seaside, especially fishing community culture. So yeah.
I love the sea. I feel like it's a sanctuary space for me. For me, it's about the fact that you just feel quite in your place in terms of the world, right?
Yeah.
Because you look out at this vast ocean and you realize that, you know, we're this big and there's this thing, but there's something calming about that as well, I feel. But also there is that kind of, when you go to places and parts of the world where they just haven't changed,
Mm-hmm.
in years and years and years, they just haven't changed. You have a sense of that this has always been,
Yeah.
you know. And I love that. I love that whole sense of that, and especially in a modern world like today, where everything seems to be moving so fast. It feels like a respite moment of, you know, somewhere you can go where nothing is. Time is stopped for a minute, etc.
Yeah. Yes. So grounding. Absolutely.
Do you feel, because I feel it does, but do you feel like your music gives people those moments?
Oh, I mean, it would make me very happy if it did. I hope so. But I guess I don't.
I honestly feel like there's something about your delivery, the way that you write, etc., and what you're writing about that actually does do that for people.
Well, that's music to my ears. That's what I hope. I think I don't dwell too much in directing the experience I want people to have with my music. It's more that I'm very attuned to where it's coming from within me, and it's very important to me that it comes from a certain place, which is a soulful place, and it is a soulful is a word, or a very kind of pure place. But other than that, I don't usually go to that place of like, well, what effect will it have? So I hope that's amazing. I hope that very much. So I'm glad if you have that sense.
When you're dealing with PR and those sort of people and social media and everything else, given the kind of music that you do write,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever have any kind of struggle against all of that, where like, because you know, music lives in this world now where like people are, give me the 20 seconds, give me that,
Right.
give me that sound bite where it's like, you know. And as I say, when I listen to your music, my soul stops for a minute, and that's lovely, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can also imagine that's hard for then some people who are trying to like market your music, and they're like, yeah, but I just need it to ping, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've had that experience. I have struggled with that end of things for a long time, because it's very subtle. To me, the thing that most represents what matters to me and what I hope to convey artistically, I can only deliver at this time through someone coming to my show, through me with the guitar, telling the stories that interweave with the songs, sharing the breadth of the song. Like I know that there is a you know, a shape to this vision that I have, and to the things that I'm drawn to, but I have no container for it at this time other than my concert. So trying to squeeze it into even a record to date has been a challenge, but let alone like the rest of the thing of PR and marketing and what is it and what is it. I I also yeah, I do struggle with that. So you're right about that.
Well, do you know what? Keep struggling. All right.
Thank you.
Because what wouldn't want to do is see you necessarily change just because, you know, the box doesn't fit. And one of the things that I try and encourage musicians with in doing this podcast, etc., is to say there are ways to beat the system and
Yeah.
do stuff outside the box. I mean, this whole podcast is a great example of that. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that PR companies and whatever said to me right from the start when I started doing this, where they said that won't work, and then I've proved that it will work. You know,
Right.
right? Because
Absolutely.
ultimately, the way I look at it is, yeah, but if everybody's doing that over there,
Yeah.
then actually you're just competing in noise. Right.
Right.
So if you're doing the same thing, you're just amplifying the noise. You know, sometimes actually to beat the noise, you just have to be quiet over there.
Yes. Absolutely. I relate to that so much. And I more and more really trust and feel and know the mechanism of like resonance in the world. Like I've been releasing music since I was, I don't know, 13 and I'm 29. And it's been quite slow to build, like I build my following one person at a time in little rooms, and but yet there is this thing that when we resonate from our kind of beacon, there are people I know when the people that resonate with it somehow access it, it's very deep and strong and sustainable. And so I put my faith in that too, of like you said, being over here quietly and yeah, there's like some lighthouse effect of if you just keep doing your thing, honestly and purely, somehow people who really resonate with it find it. So yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it can't be a bad resonating sound if people like Ed Sheeran find it, you know.
Yes, I mean that that was a big surprise, but that speaks to that same theory, is that you just keep going and you keep doing what feels soulful and you trust, you know. So
And the right people will come along, and
yeah.
and the right things will happen.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. Before you disappear off into the lovely part of America, what are you working on right now?
Well, I'm working on some music, some new stuff that I don't know yet what form it will take, but I'm writing
It's a soundtrack, isn't it?
a soundtrack
Yeah,
for like a film.
it could be.
Well, I don't have a film soundtrack in the process right now. No, I do have a project with a friend, a duo project with another singer-songwriter friend that's inspired by Celtic mythology, and that has a theater component to it. So maybe that's what you're feeling into with your psychicness.
I haven't gotten that. I have no psychicness. I was just hoping for you that it could be a soundtrack, you see.
That would be awesome. So I'm open. But with my solo music, I'm writing lately very kind of simple, like prayer songs. I think the times have me very tuned into like distilling into these really simple but hearty melodies and songs. I'm working on a lot of kind of songs that feel like prayers to me. And so I don't know what form.
Almost like Taizé.
Like who?
Taizé.
I don't know who Taizé is.
Well, okay, so Taizé is a community. It's like a Christian community thing in France, I believe.
Okay.
But like Taizé worship, right, are like almost like Celtic kind of mantra.
Taizé worship. I have to look this up. I have no familiarity.
Yeah.
So Taizé worship.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had like these lovely sort of repetitive refrain type things that can actually take you deeper into.
Yes. Yes, that's okay. Then I have to look that up. Haze worship. Yeah, because I'm usually so either narrative or like deep in poetry, and lately I'm very like the stuff that's coming to me is very distilled and very um the powers in the simplicity, and so that's where I'm at. I don't know
There you go.
where that leads, but yeah.
Well, hopefully, look, we've learned something today. People that are listening to this have learned something about you, and hopefully you've taken something away from it as well, because
Absolutely.
that's what we try and do
Yeah, thank you.
at the same time. So please do go and check out Christian Hirsch and the Unthanks and maybe some Taizé worship, and let me know what happens with all of that, right? And you will be very welcome on the shores of the UK. If you ever want to visit this part of the world and, you know, see Stonehenge and
I do. Oh my gosh.
I'd love to have you in the southwest of England.
Okay, it will happen one way or another. So I'll keep you posted, and I will do my homework with these references. Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Hayley, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. If people want to spend a bit of money, because that's always good, do you have physical things for people to buy right now still? And where's the best place for you as an artist for people to go and buy them from?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yes, I have a merch store on my website with some stuff. So that's just hayleyreardon.com/store. And it's Hayley the British way, HAYLEY. And then the best way to support me is my Patreon. I have a beautiful community on Patreon, and that's kind of my core creative place. And I share everything, and we have a lovely kind of synergy and a great group of people. So that's
do you have a name for your people?
No, we don't have a name. You mean like no, we don't have a name. We should make one. We should make one.
Well, Christian Hirsch's patrons are called Strange Angels.
I love that. Kristen Hirsch is my new idol. Okay, Strange Angels. That's awesome. That's really
so maybe you know, taking a lyric from one of your songs or whatever, perhaps you should name your people.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. All right, I'm going to take that as we'll see if a name comes through. That'll be my
there we go
question for the inspiration.
That would be lovely. Hayley Reardon, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been the incredibly talented Hayley Reardon. If you haven't checked out Hayley's music yet, you're living on a different planet, or you just haven't been listening with your ears. But now you can go and do it. We will put links to Hayley's music directly under this when you listen on Spotify. You won't even need to move your thumb more than that to go and start listening to Hayley, and that's what it's all about. And if you discover her and you feel like she's your new best friend in the world in terms of music writing, please do stop by on the socials and let her know, or in fact join her Patreon and give her some money, because you know what, music does not grow on trees. We will be back soon with more of the same, but until then, from Hayley, thank you, and myself, bye for now.